an American drone too. So I'm putting it pretty far away to start, and then you can position it.
Welcome to the Zen Zone. We are on the V12 today and the BEGODE EX. We'll mostly be on the BEGODE EX because why would you ride a 16-inch wheel without suspension when you have a 18-inch wheel with suspension and a 3,500 watt motor? Especially when you're off-roading, you're definitely going to want that bigger EUC with the suspension. The V12 does great off-roading. It did fine, and you'll even hear some remarks that my friend Ryan, he asked me if it has suspension. After riding the V12, he asked me if it has suspension, and he's not the first person to ask me that. After riding it, a few people were like, "Does it have suspension?" After riding it, and so that says a lot about the comfort. I have it in off-road mode mostly. I was riding around in off-road mode out here on the pump track. Also prefer the BEGODE EX. I almost prefer. Yeah, any wheel with suspension I would prefer on this pump track. Obviously, it's the S18, the V11. The V11 was the most fun out of all the suspension wheels on this pump track. I've ridden the V11 on this pump track, the S18, the EX, V12, pretty much RS, and they're all a lot of fun to ride on it, but definitely the edge goes to the suspension wheels. The S18 wasn't too bad, but it just needs a little more power. And the V11 was my favorite. It had the power and it wasn't too heavy. The X is good too, but it's a little bit on the heavy side. When I get some deeper pads, it'll be even easier. Right now, I was using on this video, I was using the Clark pads, which are perfect for the V12. Absolutely fantastic for the V12. But for the EX, at my weight, they're not big enough. I need deeper pads, and that's where the Rev Ride Racing pads came in clutch for the race because they help me get more torque out of the machine. Being a smaller guy, it's harder to get the torque out of that 3,500 watt motor that's on the EX. But with deeper pads, I can lean in harder and get more torque out of it. So that would help more on the pump track as well. The V12, very smooth overall, very great 16-inch wheel. Is probably the best 16-inch wheel overall. We're not talking about the build quality, we're talking about the ride. Although I did test out my very first wheel after riding this V12. My friend was riding the V12 and I was riding his 84 volt Nikola, and I was like, man, I'd rather have the Nikola. I even told him I'd almost rather have the Nikola. The speakers were definitely better on the 84 volt Nikola. The 84 volt Nikola still is one of the best speakers ever. It's phenomenal. Although I am liking them on my Tesla and my new V3 Tesla, which I've been reviewing. There's a review or first impressions video and a review scheduled. If you look at the videos I have scheduled, have quite a few videos lined up. I really needed to get some V12 content out. Was slacking on the V12 content, mostly because I wasn't too motivated by the wheel itself. I like to put out content of the wheels I actually own and ride. The only reason I had this V12 was V12 or INMOTION rather wanted me to create some content for a trailer or something like that. They had offered to pay me, and I was gonna go on tour.
I turned off the 45-degree cutout. Look at this. It's still bouncing.
You mean lift it up?
No. I was just testing it balance.
Whoa.
It's really good.
That's awesome.
So that's a key feature of the BEGODE EX, which I don't think any of the YouTubers, the bigger YouTubers, have hit upon that have reviewed this wheel. So you can turn off the 45-degree cutout. There's some really interesting things for stunt riders that you could do if you turned off that 45-degree cutout, and with the suspension as well. Make sure you keep it aired up proper, but there are probably quite a few things you could do with that, and I'm excited to try some things with that now that the race is over and I don't have to worry about beating it up so much. I'm going to pad it up and maybe try to hit some tight turns. I know a few places actually that I want to try, and maybe even come back to this pump track and try to hit some angles with it. I do think I might want a different tire though for that. The Knobby Tire may need to go onto the BEGODE EX. And I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to put the Knobby Tire back onto the BEGODE EX. I have some videos of us riding the BEGODE EX with the Knobby Tire out here not on the pump track. Maybe actually it might have the pump track too. But out here at Floyd Lamb Park, I have some footage of us riding this BEGODE EX with the Knobby Tire, and it was shredding. It was the ultimate shredding EUC powerful off-roading. Man, it was unstoppable out here on this specific type of track here. You're gonna see us off-roading it a bit. The BEGODE EX is the most unstoppable EUC that I've ridden. I think it's more unstoppable than the Sherman because of the higher pedal clearance. Makes it easier to get around on. And with the updates, the raised pedal suspension rods, you should be able to maybe even get in some more different kind of technical rides in and not have to worry about denting your pedal rods, or your suspension rods rather, which I have done. I was at Red Rock Scenic Loop and I decided to do a drop there and ended up, actually I was trolling it back up the hill. As I was trolling the BEGODE EX back up the hill, the suspension rod clipped a rock and I lost control of it and it went rolling, and that damaged the rod. And the rod got stuck up against the motor and it was scraping, and I didn't know what to do, if I was going to have to hitch a ride out of the Red Rock Scenic Loop because there's no way to get an Uber there. But I was able to use a rock to hammer the suspension rod back into place, and it's worked ever since. And so it has been bent a second time when I hit it up against a curb, but I was able to hammer it right back into position. And if you do actually break it, it's not too expensive to replace, at least not on the one I have. I don't know about the new models, what they've changed exactly. So we'll see when those come out. I'm excited to see. I think I'm going to plan a trip up to Portland to check out the merchandise when it comes in, do a little inspection, see if I want to get a BEGODE and the second BEGODE EX. Oh man, I don't think I could afford a second one, but if it has some updates that are worthwhile. The thing is, I don't know that there are any updates that are worthwhile for me, the way I'm going to be riding it on the street. And then when I off-road, it's going to be on tracks like this, which are nice and smooth and aren't too technical, more of like adventure type rides, and not really jumping. I'm not going to be doing any jumping with the BEGODE EX, and I'm not going to be doing any drops or stairs with it either. I'm not trying to damage that rim, because if you damage a rim, it is not the easiest thing to replace. It can be done, but it's not the easiest thing, and I want to enjoy this BEGODE EX for as long as possible. Looking at this footage in this drop right here, it's a few mistakes. You know, my legs weren't used to the BEGODE EX weight right here, and also I missed the handle. Getting under the handle to grab was a bit too... It's weird. It's not a big gap, and it's a thick handle. I really don't like the handle. I guess that's one thing. I'll make a video of the 3 things I don't like about the BEGODE EX, and that would be one of them, is that shape of that handle is just awkward. It's too thick, and I'm sure some other YouTubers have probably talked about that. But yeah, seeing it right there, me try to grab it, and it's just too hard to grab right there. The Sherman, I would have been able to grab the bars, the roll bars. The Monster Pro would have been probably higher up, so it would have been easier to grab. The V12 might have the same issue. Hard to like reach down and grab it. The trolley handle on the V12, definitely not pleasant to watch it bouncing around. But if you tape it up, or I'm sure maybe the new models will have some sort of innovation on the V12 to keep it from bouncing. I don't think, man, I'm curious how much people will be off-roading with this wheel. I don't see it as a wheel that people will buy to go off-roading. The RS Torque would be much better choice, in my opinion, for off-roading, and it's easier to beat up and easier to get parts for. The V12, I don't know, like looking at it here, it does fine off-roading. I'm not saying that it can't.
Say again? No, but it does kind of feel like it though. I put it in the off-road mode, so it has the off-road option on the software.
So Ryan here on the V12 had just asked does this have suspension? And he's riding it off-roading, and he's asking if it has suspension. And he's not the first person to ask that. In fact, there are multiple people to ask that. It's a comfortable wheel. It feels like it kind of might have suspension. Maybe it's something they did with the software, the way it rides. I don't know that it's any more comfortable than an RS or any other UC off-roading, but maybe the higher pedals made it feel more comfortable with the firmware. It's very possible. The V12 is a very unique EUC, and I think a lot of people will like it. But again, is it the right EUC for off-roading? I'm not sure. And I've also had people recently actually ask me if my Tesla has suspension after riding it. So yeah, people, you know, the UCs are getting better. The firmware is getting better all around. And I'm curious to see where the future of UCs goes. Like you guys, we get the front row seat. We're here. We're early adopters still at this point. Are we still in the early adoption phase? No, I think we're a little past that, but we're still early on, and this is only going to get bigger from here. Final thoughts on the BEGODE EX versus the V12. On this track, would 100% take the BEGODE EX, except I would put the Knobby tire on it, and I would absolutely dominate this track. You're going to see this track be dominated by the BEGODE EX with the Knobby tire. The V12 is also great at off-roading. It's not bad. It's not a slouch. It's good off-roading. It's just not the EUC I would take in this situation, and there were other EUCs I would choose over the V12. If you are interested in the BEGODE EX, I would definitely get a deposit down at Rev Rides, or reach out to Rev Rides and express your interest in this EUC. Ask them what updates are going to be on this new EUC, the raised suspension rods or whatnot. Is there going to be a screen on this EUC? Ask Rev Rides some questions about this EUC. There's a limited quantity coming in. I would absolutely recommend it based off this basically first edition I have. Yours will be batch number 2 and will have improvements. Mine doesn't have the improvements. If you want the V12, check out Alien Rides. Alien Rides will have very limited quantity of the V12 as well, so I would check out Alien Rides if you want the V12. Personally, I would get the BEGODE EX, but that's me, and I know my type of roads and what I like. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, stay in the Zen Zone. Take a look at the videos. Lots more coming up. Footage of the V12 versus the Sherman, etc. All coming up. Check out the schedule. Lots of videos to come. And leave a comment. It truly helps me get to know you, and it helps me out with the algorithm as well. Using the discount code ZEN also will save you some money, and it helps me out as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, stay in the Zen Zone.